Bro, it's an hour before showtime. Eric comes and gets me. Vince, you better go to the trailer and talk to Hulk because he's not doing your finish. And I'm like, he approved it through. What are you? That's where I was hot, Mac. Don't approve it. And then at the freaking 12th hour, now you're not going to do it?
Let me ask you, out of curiosity, when was your first professional meeting with Hulk Hogan?
God, man. Mac, this is what I remember vividly. I remember the very first show I went to work at WCW. And Mac, here's when I knew, like, brother, this is a whole different ball game. Because the first thing I noticed was all the big money guys dressed together. Yes, these guys, okay? All the big money guys dressed together, and all the mid-carders on down dressed in a totally different other part of the building. And I remember, Mac, seeing Hulk for the first time. And Mac, I could tell just by the way he was looking at me, he did not trust me, bro, without ever speaking a word to me. And then I would hear Hulk say later on, oh, bro, people smartened me up and people told me that, Russo's plan was to get all the young guys over and get rid of all the veterans. Nah, bro, that was never the plan. That was never my intention. But, bro, I had a reputation for pushing the younger guys. Yeah. Mac, why am I pushing the younger guys? Bro, that's business. The guys on top were getting older. Flair and Hogan were getting old. So what I need to do is I need to build the undercard. I need to build the mid-carders, and I need to get those legends in the right position. Hogan and Flair couldn't be out there wrestling every week. No. So I had a plan. That was my plan. Let's get them positioned in the right spot, build the undercard. But the problem was Hogan and Flair convinced themselves that I was trying to get rid of them. That's when they went to Bill Bush, and that's when they went to J.J. Dillon. The next thing I know, they're calling me in the office and telling me, oh, we're taking a change in direction. I knew exactly what it was. But, Mac, here's the thing. They hired me, and they were paying me to let me do what I needed to do. Yeah, this is what the company needed. The Benoits and the Guerreros and the Shane Douglases and the Eddie, those guys needed to be built because everybody on top was getting old. So I knew that was the best thing for WCW. Meanwhile, I knew the veterans were going to cook me. Mac, you've been in the business. Paranoia is the number one sickness in the wrestling business. And that's, I remember that specifically about Hulk, man. The first time I ever locked eyes with him, like I could just tell, man, because you got to remember, man, before me, it was his buddy Eric. Yeah. And Eric was always protecting him. You know what I mean? And he never trusted me from the jump, Mac. Never.
Well, I would imagine that'd been an uphill climb anyhow, because you're coming into a situation that, you and Eric weren't the best of friends. Let's put it that way. So of course Hogan's going to be a little slanted because he's hearing more from Bischoff. Right. I'm not saying that I know what was said or anything else.
No, but that's right. Yeah. What you're saying is absolutely right. Yeah. And that was always the problem I always had with Hulk. Was Eric. Because, Mac, I swear to God, these are my most fond memories, okay? Eric Bischoff hates me, Mac. He hates me with a passion. And, I mean, guys, not for nothing. The guy had an 83-week run. They were killing us. Vince brings me in to start writing. We turn the tables. The next thing we know, Eric Bischoff's out of a job, and then I get his job. So the guy hates me. Period. Like that. That's enough reason for him to hate me. So he was always in Hulk's ear, always. So if he hates me, he's telling Hulk, don't trust him, don't do this, don't do this. But Mac, I will say this, and these are the times I really remember that was so special to me. When I was at TNA, there were times when I had Hulk one-on-one on the phone. Just the two of us, talking creative, talking ideas. This is what I was thinking about. And I got to tell you, Mac, that's the closest I ever came to Terry Bollea.
Did he listen to you at that time by the telephone?
Listen to me, two-way conversations, pitching each other back and forth. Very, very good and pleasant conversations.
I was going to say, because, back in TNA, there was a lot of good stuff with Hogan and some of the filming and the scenes in the back that I really enjoyed. And I even enjoyed some of the storylines that he was involved with. He wasn't involved in a lot of storylines that got him physical, but he couldn't. Yeah. But he was interesting in a lot of other ways.
Yeah.
Did you work with him in those backstage vignettes and everything that they were cutting?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
So it always seemed to me like you two probably got along just fine. It seemed like
we did get along fine. Me and Hogan never, ever, ever had a crossword. Ever, Mac. Never. Mac, people got to understand about Bash at the Beach. This is the problem I had with it, Mac. I didn't have a problem with Hulk playing his creative card. That's on WCW.
Yeah.
WCW gave him creative control. What's he going to say? No, I don't want it. I never blame him for that. Mac, here was the problem. I don't know if you know this story at all. Here was the problem. I'm sitting down and I'm writing Bash at the Beach. Hulk's got to approve his part, right?
Yeah.
So I write a story for Hulk. Johnny Ace then has to bring Hulk the story. Okay. So I write the first one. Johnny Ace comes back to me. That doesn't work for him, brother. I said, no problem. I wrote the second story. And Mac, what I wrote in the second story was Hogan laid out everybody in the building, but he didn't leave with the title. See, let me explain something to you, Mac, because a lot of people don't understand this. Hulk was paid if he was on television. So Hulk knew, if I have that belt, they got to put me on TV. He's a businessman.
Oh, yeah.
He knows. So he was always trying to get the belt. And it was time to put the belt on somebody else. So I write the second script where he lays out Jarrett. He lays out Steiner. He sends everybody out in ambulances, but he doesn't win the belt. Okay. Johnny Ace brings this story to Hulk, and Johnny Ace comes back. Vince, he approved it. He's all good. So now I'm okay, bro. Now this is, Thursday or Friday. Now we got Bash at the Beach on Sunday. So in my mind, we're good, right? Well, Mac, here's what I did not learn this till the depositions. Okay? Mac, this is the weekend of Bash at the Beach. So we're all going to Florida. His attorney sends a letter to the office after hours on Friday, like 6:00 on Friday night, saying Hulk doesn't approve the script. Nobody's at the office, man. We're all on our way to Florida. So they purposely sent it. They knew nobody was going to see it. So now, Mac, you got to understand. Here's the problem I had. Brother, you told Johnny Ace you were good with it. You approved plan B, right? My problem was, bro, now I go to the building. We're getting ready for the show. Bro, it's an hour before showtime. Eric comes and gets me Vince, you better go to the trailer and talk to Hulk because he's not doing your finish. And I'm like, he approved it through. What are you? That's where I was hot, Mac. Don't approve it. And then at the freaking 12th hour, now you're not going to do it? That's where I got upset. Not that he was playing the creative control card, but bro, don't pull it an hour before. But here's what happened, Mac.
I was just about to ask, what made him change his mind?
I'll tell you what made him change his mind. So, Mac, think about this now. Mac, on my children, this is exactly how it went down. On my children, my wife, my bulldog Penelope. So, Mac, think about this. Now I have to go in a trailer with Hulk and Eric.
Uh-oh.
It's the three of us. Okay?
You don't have a chance.
So they already had a story and a plan, and they already called Brad Siegel and sold it to him. Okay? So Mac, listen, Mac, I if I had a Bible here, I would put my hand right on it. So Mac, as Hulk is laying out this story to me, what's the story? He leaves with the title. That's the story. He leaves the champion. Now, Mac, I want to back up, and I want you to understand this, and I want the people at home to understand this. Mac, I swear to God, earlier in the week, we had a creative meeting. And there was about maybe 6 or 8 people in there. It was me. It was Ed Ferrara, Terry Taylor, Borash, Disco, maybe Tony Schiavone. There was about 6 or 8 people in there. Mac, I swear to you, I went in there at the beginning of the meeting. And I said, if you could put the belt on anybody right now, who would you put it on? And I went around the room. Mac, it was unanimous Booker T. It wasn't 7-1, 6-2, unanimous. So we made the decision. Booker T was leaving Bash at the Beach with the title.
Did Hogan know that would be the person who would get the title at the end of the night with your idea?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
So when Hogan's pitching this story to me, and I'm hearing he wants to leave with the belt, I'm saying, bro, that ain't happening. So Hogan says to me, he threw in there, like towards the end of it, he said, if this were a shoot, brother. Okay? So now, Mac, you got to understand, I got to think on my feet because Booker's leaving this show with the belt.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to think on my feet now. So I say, Hulk, if this were a shoot, this is how this would go down. Because Hulk didn't want to do the job for Jeff Jarrett. I said, this is how this would go down. I would go out to Jeff Jarrett and I would tell Jeff Jarrett, you don't want a job for him. Jeff Jarrett would be pissed off. And I would say, Jeff, F him, lay down for him. Lay down, F him. I said, then Jeff lays down and I'm out there, you're pissed at me, you're cutting a promo on me, but you pin Jeff. Okay, now here's the key thing, Mac. I then say to him and Eric, guys, you are so pissed at me for showing you up, making Jarrett lay down, that as soon as this is over, you and Eric leave the building. Here's why you got to leave the building. Because I've got to go out there and I've got to make sense of the Jarrett Booker match. And I said, if I go out there and you're still in the building, you're going to have to come out there and kill me. Yep. That's why you have to leave the building. I said, so, Mac, I swear to God, this is exactly what I said. I said, so you guys are pissed at me. You freaking take the belt. You storm out of the building. This is exactly what I said, Mac. I then, Hulk, am going to go out to the ring and I am going to cut a scathing promo on you. Now, Mac, you got to understand, every promo I ever cut in a wrestling ring was all impromptu, in the moment. I never wrote anything for myself. I never had a script. So the reality of the situation is, when I tell Hulk, I'm going to cut a scathing promo on you, I don't know what I'm going to say. I just know I'm going to cut a scathing promo on him. So I said, Hulk, I'm going to cut a scathing promo on you. Now, one thing about Hulk, if you know Hulk, bro, is when he likes something, his eyes would light up. And this is exactly what he said. Oh, brother, I like that. And then I'll have my belt. Booker will have a belt. And then we can do something with me and Booker. And I said, Mac, Hulk, let's get through tonight. As soon as this is over, as soon as TV is over, I will call you and we'll talk about where we go from here. Okay? So, Mac, here's the thing. I didn't let Jeff in on it. When Jeff was not in on this till I told Jeff the next day. He was not in on this. So Jeff's super pissed that Hogan doesn't want to do it. So Jeff really thinks he's laying down like Jeff was not in on it. So Mac, everything worked out exactly the way we talked about it. Exactly the way we talked about it. Because, Mac, let me just say this. Yeah. Mac, you know I'm a very logical guy.
Yep.
If I would have, as a shoot, stood up to Hogan like that and told Jarrett, lay down for Hogan, may go horse his ass out of him, bro, Hulk would have kicked my ass in the back. He would have been waiting for me back there, bro, and they would have had him tear him off me. No, bro, that's why they had to leave. Okay? So but Mac, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you where I made my mistake, and I want to see what you would have done.
Okay.
So, Mac, this thing plays out exactly the way we laid it out in the trailer. Him and Eric Bischoff leave. I go out to the ring. Hogan, you big dumb son of a... Keep your belt. That's the make-believe belt. And I make sense out of the match with Booker and Jeff. I had to make sense out of it, right? Yep. So, Mac, here's what happened. After this promo, the internet goes ballistic. They all believe it. Russo finally got over on Hogan. Russo told Hogan what somebody, they all bought it hook, line, and sinker. So now Hogan's at home reading all of this. Okay, now, Mac, I want to ask you what you would have done in my shoes. Mac, when I said to Hulk, man to man, let's get through tonight. As soon as television is over, I will call you and we'll discuss where we go from here. Mac, I meant every word of that. So what happens, Mac, is I get back to the office in Atlanta. Brad Siegel calls me in his office. Vince, what happened? I laid it out to Brad just like I laid it out to you. So Brad goes to me, how did you leave it with Hulk? And I said, Brad, I told him I would call him when I got back from TV and we would talk about where we go from here. Brad Siegel, the head of TBS and TNT, looked at me and said, Vince, don't call him because we can't afford to put him on television. So now I told Hogan I was going to call him. I got the head of TBS and TNT saying, bro, you don't call him because I can't put him on TV. I can't afford it. Literally, those were his words. So now when I don't call Hogan after I told him I was going to call him, here comes a defamation lawsuit. Oh, we had no idea that like him and Eric had no idea any of that was going on. Mac, that's how it went down to a T. And Mac, I beat myself up for this because that's where I told the guy I was going to call him, and I had every intention of calling him. But when I got the head of the network saying, no, don't call him, I didn't call him.
Oh,
but as a man, I gave him my word I was going to call him.
Well, let me ask you, God, you're going to hate me if I ask this question, but I got to ask you.
I won't.
Did you call him to tell him that you can't call him?
No, not at all. I
did you regret not never calling him and saying, "Hey, look, here's the lowdown. This is why this has hit a brick wall."
Mac, if I would have done that, I could have opened up a lawsuit against WCW.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't. And bro, what happened was he wound up suing me for defamation of character because he knew nothing about any of this, and then he wound up suing WCW at the same time, and that's how that went down.